True crime stories often showcase the darkest sides of human beings. Along with those, some stories reveal extraordinary acts of courage and survival. The case of Jeannette Tamayo, a 9-year-old girl kidnapped in 2002, stands out as one example of such incidents. Even while suffering in the hands of a dangerous predator, she outsmarted her captor, using quick thinking and what she learned from watching crime shows. Jeannette Tamayo's story is one of absolute bravery in the face of unimaginable cruelty. Let us tell you what happened all those years ago in a little town in California. The abduction. The day started like any other for Jeannette Tamayo, a bright and lively 9-year-old girl living in San Jose, California. On June 6, 2003, she walked home from school just like any other day. Unknown to her, she was being followed by a predator that would fill her life with trauma. When she entered her house, a man forcefully followed her inside. The man was David Montiel Cruz, who had been stalking the neighborhood. Cruz violently attacked Jeannette's mother and older brother, who was barely reaching the teenage years. He beat them both severely before restraining them. Then, he stuffed the little girl into a box and put her in the back seat of his car. He took her into a house while her family lay helpless, praying for her safety. Authorities were immediately called and searching parties were immediately launched. However, they had to work on limited information. The odds seemed to be against finding Jeannette alive. The threat of immediate danger. As the experts expressed, when a child is abducted by a predator, the first few hours are the most critical. If the abductor intends to kill the victim, it often happens within the first few hours, and not so far from where the abduction took place. Cruz took Jeannette to a 2-story house in a remote area where he held her captive in a bedroom in the 2nd story. She was handcuffed, threatened to death, and abused, both sexually and psychologically. The 9-year-old Jeannette Tamayo suffered both physical and emotional terror at the hand of Cruz, who was in his mid-20s at the time. And this went on for 2 whole days. However, throughout this nightmare, Jeannette did something remarkable, something even many adults wouldn't be able to do. She remained calm, focused, and strategic, even when she was terrified, just like any 9-year-old little girl would be. She managed to outthink her captor, a feat that ultimately saved her life. How she outwitted her captor. Soon she realized that a physical escape was not an option. This was a man who overpowered her family and physically abused her for 2 days. So, any direct attempt to flee would likely have led to more violence. She knew that this was a time to use her wits, to rely on lessons she had learned from watching crime shows like Cops and CSI with her mother. In those shows, she saw how law enforcement officers worked to solve the crimes. However, that wasn't the part that helped her. While watching those, she learned about the psychological dynamics between captors and victims. Perpetrators often dehumanize their victims to make it easier for them to commit any violence. She understood that it was important to humanize herself to her captor. Jeannette knew that if she could get Cruz to see her as a person rather than a helpless child, she might be able to change the outcome of her abduction. She understood that if she could build an affinity with Cruz, she might be able to manipulate him. So, despite the terror she felt, she began to talk to him, sharing details about her life, her family, and her dreams. She made herself appear more vulnerable but also relatable, as if she were not just a victim, but a human being with hopes and a future. I had to get his trust. This is what she later claimed in an interview. The escape plan. Her strategy started to work. As Jeannette continued to talk with him, Cruz began to trust her. So, she kept on talking, even when all she wanted was to punch him and hit him, as she said after she was released. She said that it was difficult to talk with him, who was her abductor and abuser. Little by little, he started to trust her and eventually removed her handcuffs. Then, she was able to roam freely around the house. This is where things really started working for her. Unknown to Cruz, she used that opportunity to gather critical information about her surroundings and evidence against him. Some items with his fingerprints on them. She also paid close attention to her environment. She memorized the layout of the house, noting where doors and windows were located. But Jeannette didn't stop there. One day, while watching TV with Cruz, she overheard a program discussing asthma. Inspired by this, she made up a story, telling Cruz that she was asthmatic and needed her medication, or her life would be in danger. She even went so far as to claim she had a disease that required immediate treatment. A bold lie which she had no idea would work, but she had nothing to lose. Whether Cruz believed her on her condition or he was moved by her story, it worked in her favor. Not long after she told him about the disease, he decided to release her. He drove her to a street corner and left her there, leading police to her captor. Jeannette's bravery and quick thinking didn't stop there. She was found by police and taken to give her necessary medical care. There, she reunited with her family. Then, she immediately began providing crucial information to the authorities. Despite the trauma she had endured in that house, she recalled every turn Cruz had taken during her abduction, leading police straight into his hideout. She had kept track of the route Cruz had taken when he abducted her, mentally logging every turn and landmark they had passed. Matt Breaker, the Santa Clara County Deputy District Attorney who prosecuted the case, was astonished by Jeannette's presence of mind. To survive that, and to recall where the turns were, how far they were, it's just an amazing act, he said. Thanks to Jeannette's remarkable memory and attention to detail, police were able to find Cruz before he could flee. When officers arrived at the house, they found Cruz preparing to escape. He was arrested, and Jeannette's testimony in court played a critical role in securing his conviction. David Montiel Cruz was sentenced to over 100 years in prison, ensuring that he would never harm another child. Aftermath and lessons from Jeannette's story. Though Jeannette's courage brought her home and helped put her abductor behind bars, the emotional scars of her ordeal were deep and long-lasting. Surviving a kidnapping, sexual abuse, and prolonged captivity at such a young age left her with psychological trauma that would take years to heal. Her story offers several important lessons, both for parents and for society as a whole. Jeannette's story ultimately emphasizes the importance of teaching children basic survival skills and safety awareness. It's impossible to prepare for every situation. However, encouraging children to think critically, remain calm under pressure, and gather information in times of danger can make a significant difference in the outcome of a crisis. That's the story of Jeannette Tamayo, the 9-year-old girl who outsmarted her captor and got free of her invisible chains. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Let us end the video with a little message. Let's protect children at any cost. Thank you for watching.